You have 72 hours to vacate this property. That's what Rosalind screamed in my face that morning, her finger jabbing toward the street like she was crowning herself queen of the cul-de-sac. And Clifton, standing beside her with that HOA-issued clipboard, grinning, like this was his favorite part of the job, kicking out some tired veteran from his own front porch. I'll bet they saw nothing but an easy target, a guy in worn jeans clinging to the last piece of his family's history. But what they didn't see, 6 years of specialized training in how to dismantle corrupt systems from the inside out. Sometimes the best move is letting your enemy think they've already won. You know what I mean? The eviction notice Rosalind shoved at me, complete with the HOA's gold embossed seal, like it was the royal family or something, wasn't just a warning, it was a declaration of war. The violations they listed were bogus, the fees were made up, and the timeline was meant to send a regular person into a panic. I took the paper, never breaking eye contact, and let her finish her whole little routine. She was mid-50s, dressed like a TV judge, posture stiff as a flagpole, and Clifton beside her kept checking his watch, probably just to feel important. "Is there anything else?" I asked. You could see Rosalind was expecting me to crack or lose it. I just stood there, flat voice. "If you need anything, put it in writing." And I closed the door in their faces. It was dead quiet inside, the kind of silence that soaks into your bones. I walked past all my grandfather's old stuffed naval history books, the same brown recliner he'd used for decades, his faded picture on the mantel grinning back at me from 1973 when he first bought the place. I was deployed overseas when he passed, missed the funeral, missed my chance to say goodbye. This house was supposed to be my shot at honoring him, making it right. Now, because of a woman with a hunger for control and a man with a clipboard, I was supposed to hand over everything left of him. So I started digging. Took photos of every page in that notice, made backups, compared it with my own records. The so-called violations were nothing but fancy language failure to maintain curb appeal community standards. The fines were jacked up with compounding interest. The kicker. The signature at the bottom, Rosalind Thier, scrawled with a flourish that said she'd done this plenty of times before. I got out the HOA bylaws, county records board meeting minutes. If there was something to find, I was going to find it. My bank statements proved every HOA due was paid, every transaction time-stamped and cleared. Not a dime missing. If I was delinquent, someone cooked the books or just plain lied. The bylaws demanded written notice and 30 days to fix any issues before enforcement. Rosalind skipped right to get out or else. No warning, no process, nothing. This wasn't incompetence. It was designed to blitz me before I could fight back. And the big question: why was Rosalind so desperate to get me out? My grandfather's letters painted a picture of the old neighborhood back when the HOA was about block parties and bake sales, not lawsuits and threats. Now new houses were popping up everywhere, old ones getting knocked down, property values shooting through the roof. Investors started circling like vultures. I got a text anonymous, a picture of my house with a message urging me to sell, meant to rattle me. Jokes on them. I was already filing it away as evidence. Low turnout elections, board minutes that looked more like shopping lists, mysterious improvements, bylaw changes. Nobody voted on it, all pointed to a system run for a select few. I sorted it all: financial discrepancies, procedural violations, harassment. Still not enough for a case, but the foundation was there. Next morning, I hit the county clerk's office at opening time. The woman at the counter gave me that look. "Why are you bothering me at 8 a.m.? But I kept it polite. Got my request for official records. She said 3 to 5 business days. I'd already found most of what I needed online, but now it'd be on the record. What I really needed was someone who knew how this HOA really worked, a witness. There was one Willa Hargrave, ex-board member. I found her 3 streets over watering her garden. I introduced myself, Silas Merritt's grandson. Her face softened. Let me in for coffee, and I slid the notice across the table. She read it, lips pressed thin. "Rosalind," she said, like she'd bitten into a lemon. "Willa told me everything. The HOA used to be transparent and friendly. 5 years ago, Rosalind ran for president on lower fees, better amenities, then rewrote the rules, stacked the board, and started forcing out longtime owners. 3 families already gone. Every time someone left, new luxury houses went up, prices climbed, and guess who bought them? Rosalind, through LLCs and trusts, 2 on Maple Street alone." "Why didn't anyone stop her?" I asked. Willa shook her head. "Complaints, lawsuits. Nothing stuck. Rosalind had a lawyer on retainer specialized in HOA drama. Most folks gave up or ran out of money. "Are you going to fight this?" she asked, hope in her voice. I told her I'd do things by the book. She said if I needed testimony or documents, she'd help. Now I had a pattern, a motive, and a witness. That night I connected the dots. 2 properties on Maple Street bought by Thier Holdings, LLC. Same agent always handled the sales. I compared enforcement actions, property transfers, ownership records. Rosalind was using the HOA to push out owners, then picking up the properties cheap for herself. Classic conflict of interest bordering on fraud. That's when I got the first call from the lawyer, Roger Hastings, HOA legal counsel. He sounded like a used car salesman. "My client will waive your fees if you leave in 72 hours. I told him I'd like to see the HOA bylaws and enforcement procedures first. He didn't expect that. I kept calm like I was taught. "I'll be in touch," I said, and hung up. Their intimidation routine was starting to crack. 2 days later, another notice slipped under my door before dawn. The demands had doubled, new violations appeared. Now I had 24 hours to comply. Fees stacked up with made-up interest, administrative costs, you name it. I documented everything, added it to my file. Then came the vandalism, eyesore sprayed in red across my garage. I called the police, filed a report, handed over the anonymous text and all the harassment. That same afternoon, the HOA blasted the community message board, painting me as the bad guy, lazy, rude, doesn't care about the neighborhood. Neighbors piled on, parroting the board's script. I screenshotted every comment, didn't take the bait. Their social pressure was calculated, and I'd seen these tactics before. The next day, a real estate agent mailed me a friendly offer, cash above market, quick closing. Same agent as all the forced sales. The pattern was as clear as daylight. Every new move gave me more evidence. By the end of the week, my formal records request came back. Buried in the bylaws and financial statements was a trail of dirty money payments to shell companies, consulting fees to a dissolved property management firm, reserves bled dry. Transactions structured to fly under the radar. Even the audits were a sham, never mentioning the real cash flows. And then there it was, 5 properties with liens placed right before they sold, lien satisfaction payments. Never making it to the HOA accounts, instead, straight to Meridian Property Solutions, an LLC owned by Rosalind herself. That's theft, plain and simple. The lawyer kept calling, shifting from threats to pleading. I ignored him. Drafted a complaint for the county prosecutor and state regulator, sent every scrap of evidence by certified mail and email, CC'd every authority I could find. The pressure campaign was backfiring. Every move they made only helped my case. When the emergency board meeting was called, I was ready. The room was packed. Rosalind in pearls and navy blazer, looking like she was about to read us all bedtime stories. She spun the usual story, one disgruntled homeowner, everything above board, all financials audited, nothing to see here. I stood up, folder in hand, and laid it all out. Payments, shell companies, the forged violations, the liens, the missing money. I put copies in front of every board member, waived bank statements, contracts, emails, everything. The room went dead silent. Then one after another, neighbors started to speak up, stories of bogus violations, legal threats, forced sales. The next morning, Rosalind resigned. So did the rest of the board. The prosecutor called me and grilled me for hours, pieced it all together, and built a criminal case. When it finally broke, it broke big: embezzlement, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty. The trial was grueling. Rosalind's attorney tried to make me out as a conspiracy nut, but the paper trail never lied. The jury convicted her and the board members who helped her. Restitution, prison time, everything. The new board reformed the HOA, real transparency, financial safeguards, conflict of interest rules. Neighbors started talking to me again. Some thanked me, some still blamed me for hurting property values, but I slept easy. My grandfather's house was safe and his legacy was bigger than ever. 2 years after that first notice, I stood on the porch watching the sunset, feeling the old house breathe easy for the first time in years. Here's what I know: systems only work when people stand up and demand accountability. You can beat corruption not by shouting, but by documenting, by holding the line, by refusing to let go. That's what justice looks like: slow, stubborn, sometimes lonely, but worth every damn minute. Now let me ask you, if it was your home, your family's history on the line, would you have fought back? Or would you have walked away? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you've ever tangled with a crooked HOA or know someone who has, share your story below. Let's make sure nobody ever gets pushed out in silence again.